We kick off the list with a seemingly casual first-person shooter. In Way of the Hunter, there's no need to fight a battalion of soldiers aiming at your head. Instead, you're a lowly hunter making his newfound lodge a sanctuary of fresh game. Like all hunting games, there are many ways to catch prey. Way of the Hunter's charm is in its heavy attention to detail. The touch of realism with the way you hunt animals is ethical and humane, fully immersing you in its dynamic open-world design. If you enjoyed the other hunting games like Call of the Wild, Way of the Hunter is a strong alternative to the other hunting games on the PS5's library. Bethesda's Doom had us slaying demons and rocking out to Mick Gordon's music. Metal Hellsinger does exactly the same, albeit with more focus on jamming to its heavy metal tunes. If the metal genre was a video game, this could be it. This first-person rhythm shooter is a unique spin on the popular genre. It's a cacophonous rampage of guitar riffs that put you in your A-game as you blast foes in rhythmic precision. It is a fitting tribute to the heavy metal genre as well as sparking new interest for players who want to rock and roll. There's been a resurgence in Overwatch's popularity since it rebranded itself as a sequel with more or less the same features. Blizzard's Overwatch was a worldwide phenomenon back in the day, and after so much controversy, it was abandoned for quite some time. Thankfully, the game is back and in a better state now. The shift from 6v6 to 5v5 made teamfights more engaging compared to the original. With fewer shields and crowd control to worry about, this hero shooter is finding its new footing with new characters and game modes that shake up the ever-changing meta. The recent departure of the Overwatch League will also open new doors to its competitive esports scene. Let's hope Blizzard doesn't screw things over again. This realistic military shooter is not the kind of game to play with your grandpa beside you. Hell Let Loose is a hardcore FPS that replicates the horror and adrenaline of World War II. From the beaches of Omaha to the war-torn Stalingrad, it immediately drops you into action in its host of iconic moments in World War II history. Competitive thrill seekers will find something to enjoy in its 100-player skirmishes that put you in the bowels of war. Its real-time strategy format forces you to pick the right roles to help your battalion. This intricate balance of action and tactics add weight to its firefights as one bullet shot is enough to cripple your offensive. A VR game perfect for players who enjoy games like No Man's Sky, Hubus takes you to a gorgeous alien planet teeming with extraterrestrials and robots. Unlike No Man's Sky, where there's no endgame, Hubus actually has a story to tell. As a newbie to a mighty spacefaring empire, you're tasked to find a missing agent by any means necessary. There's a ton of room for adventure here, and with your PSVR gear at the ready, you're bound to encounter the wonders and dangers in its sci-fi world.
Are you with me?
There's a growing interest in squad-based games where you're plunged into an alien planet with nothing but your guns and friends to back you up. Like Helldivers 2's relentless spread of democracy, Deep Rock Galactic is a first-person shooter about heroic dwarves fighting for rock and stone. It's best played with friends or a group of like-minded people. The gameplay loop pretty much involves you and your brothers and sisters harvesting resources, running away from bugs, and getting the hell off that planet. The kicker here is that you're forced to dig underneath the surface. This makes more room for strategy, where roles are equally shared depending on the objective. This mix and match offers enough replay value to play again and again until your employer showers you with credits. A surprisingly short and sweet FPS adventure is what Journey to the Savage Planet is all about. If you think that this is just another No Man's Sky or any other survival crafting game out there, you're wrong. After crash landing into this alien planet, you're tasked to survey every nook and cranny, all for the sake of survival. Once you get used to its systems, such as upgrading your tools and collecting enough resources, there's a breadth of activities waiting for you. It's also a game that doesn't take itself seriously. It downplays your terrible situation with its humorous menus and dialogue, making your journey less frustrating. Within 10 or fewer hours of playtime, you've about explored most of what the planet has to offer. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and that's what makes it great. Upon first glance, you'll notice how crazy Trepang 2 is. If there's a game that makes us feel like we're the Terminator, this one's gotta be it. This first-person shooter is all about destruction. As an elite superhuman soldier with no memory of his past, you're on a rampage to reclaim your missing memories. Using your supernatural powers, fend off waves of enemies, including grunts, cultists, and even man-made horrors. A lot of players seem to compare this to the Fear series, calling it a spiritual successor to the classic supernatural shooter. There's no mistake here. There are a lot of similarities, and what's not to love about that? Resembling that of a shooter from the 90s, Proteus blends retro and modern aesthetics in a singular project that plays like a AAA title. There's a lot of inspiration behind Proteus. One could tell it takes a lot from Doom and other old-school boomer shooters. But once you get your hands on it, its gameplay feels seamless the moment you shoot your gun. The handcrafted visuals are a nice touch that makes it feel old when it technically isn't. It comes with a campaign that's reminiscent of the classics, as well as a competitive online mode to play with other players and climb the leaderboards. It's a love letter to the FPS genre, and Proteus is a shining example.
It is time to purge the heretics.
The latest Warhammer FPS in the market, Bolgun gives you the power fantasy of being a badass space marine. With its frenetic moment-to-moment action, it's made for both fans of Warhammer lore and retro shooters. Like Proteus, Bolgun follows the same formula of blending old school and modern, yet its gameplay and combat are designed for the new gen format. Both games serve as a homage to a bygone era of games, reminding every player that boomer shooters will always find their way again. This PlayStation 5 exclusive is the best PSVR 2 game so far. It makes full use of Sony's proprietary VR hardware to deliver the most immersive first-person shooter to exist on their list of VR titles. Taking place in an alternate dimension, grab a gun and take down enemies in good old VR shootouts. Winning isn't just about aiming for the head. Synapse's best feature lets you have the power of telekinesis. Grabbing objects and enemies make you feel like a Jedi. This makes the shooting more dynamic, providing you with more options to eliminate foes with style and precision. There's a lot to expect when you're a video game created by the man behind Rick and Morty. Justin Roiland sets his sight on a first-person shooter sci-fi game that could rival Starfield or Cyberpunk. I mean, not really. This irreverent take on sci-fi takes high on life to the weirdest corners of space. You're basically a man with a gun that doesn't stop yapping.
Don't shoot. I got an idea. Whoa, perfect shot! You fucking nailed it!
Fans of Rick and Morty might find this hilarious, but for others who just want to shoot aliens, this can be a frustrating addition. Either way, High on Life succeeds at overloading the senses with its fantastic visual presentation, witty writing, and off-the-rails space adventure. We've reached our top 3, and there doesn't seem to be a single game that takes itself seriously, which is a good thing. Pistol Whip is exactly what you think it is. It turns you into a gunslinging hero in a matter of minutes. However, what sets it apart from other VR shooters is that it's not reliant on gun reflexes alone. It's also a rhythm game. As you batter your enemies with bullets, you can create a melodic pace that is difficult to master, having you grooving while shooting in a way only Pistol Whip can do. You might be surprised why Postal Brain Damage ranks number 2 on this list. Apparently, the PlayStation website has it scored at a 4 out of 5 with over 170 ratings. It's one of those games that are so bad it's good, and Postal has maximized on that reputation in Brain Damage with more unhinged content. It's definitely an improvement from its previous entries. Shooting is smoother this time around, and there's a certain challenge in its gameplay. It still doesn't escape the fact that it's a relic of a bygone era of the early 2000s. You might say that this is a boomer shooter in the literal sense. A lot of its humor might not hit younger audiences, but to the oldies, this can be something to laugh at. Taking the crown for the best PlayStation 5 FPS is none other than Neon White. It's a prime example of making the genre fresh yet familiar. There are no 50v50 battle royales or talking guns. It's a stylish shooter that encourages, get this, speed runs. The gist of Neon White is optimizing your run to get the quickest time possible in a level. There are numerous ways to do it, and the game doesn't punish you for mistakes. Pair it with a soundtrack from Machine Girl, and you'll be speeding through its courses with your head bopping to the music. You can ignore the cheesy visual novel story, since it's obviously the least charming thing about it.
Oh, I know! Is it White's ass?
But if you want a responsive FPS that feels like you're a god going through the motions, Neon White is a great pick.
Dead guy, huh?